Welcome to the Automotive Service Technician Red Seal Exam Practice. This video contains 125 practice questions to help you prepare for your certification exam. Let's begin. This exam covers the following major work activities: common occupational skills, engine and engine support systems, vehicle module communications, driveline systems, electrical and comfort control systems, steering, suspension, braking systems, restraint systems, body components, and hybrid and electric vehicle systems. Before we start, if you're preparing for your Red Seal exam, hit subscribe. We cover over 50 trades. Question 1. Which workplace hazard pictogram indicates a health hazard such as carcinogenicity or respiratory sensitization? A. A skull and crossbones symbol that indicates acute toxicity. B. A person with a starburst on the chest indicating serious health hazards. C. An exclamation mark indicating minor health hazards. D. A flame over a circle indicating oxidizing substances. The correct answer is B. The health hazard pictogram shows a person with a starburst on their chest. This symbol indicates serious health hazards including carcinogenicity, respiratory sensitization, reproductive toxicity, and target organ toxicity. The skull and crossbones indicates acute toxicity, while the exclamation mark indicates lesser health hazards. Question 2. When working with brake dust that may contain asbestos, which PPE is required according to safety protocols? A. N95 respirator and protective gloves for asbestos protection. B. Standard dust mask and latex gloves for work. C. Face shield and leather gloves for splash protection. D. No special PPE required with wet cleaning methods. The correct answer is A. When brake dust may contain asbestos, common in older vehicles and some aftermarket brake components, technicians must wear an N95 or higher rated respirator, P100 is preferred, protective gloves, and eye protection. Even when using wet cleaning methods, respiratory protection is still required. Standard dust masks do not provide adequate filtration for asbestos fibers. Question 3. Before servicing a hybrid or electric vehicle high-voltage system, what is the first safety procedure that must be performed? A. Disconnect the 12-volt auxiliary battery before starting work. B. Wear high-voltage insulating gloves and verify their integrity. C. Follow manufacturer's service disconnect procedure. D. Wait 10 minutes for capacitors to discharge completely. The correct answer is C. The first step when servicing a hybrid or electric vehicle high-voltage system is to follow the manufacturer's specific service disconnect procedure to de-energize the high-voltage system. This typically involves locating and removing the service disconnect plug or switch, which isolates the high-voltage battery from the vehicle's electrical system. Only after proper de-energization should technicians proceed with wearing PPE and waiting for capacitors to discharge. Each manufacturer has specific procedures that must be followed. Question 4. When using a digital multimeter to test a 12-volt automotive circuit for voltage drop, where should the meter leads be connected? A. Both leads connected to the positive terminal. B. Positive lead to load side and negative to ground. C. Positive lead to source and negative to load across circuit section. D. Positive lead to battery and negative to component ground. The correct answer is C. When performing a voltage drop test, the digital multimeter leads should be connected across the section of circuit being tested, positive lead on the source side, closer to the power source, and negative lead on the load side, closer to the component. This measures the voltage lost across that section of the circuit. A voltage drop test is performed with the circuit energized and under load. Excessive voltage drop, typically more than 0.5 V on the ground side or 0.3 V per connection on the positive side, indicates high resistance that should be repaired. Question 5. When positioning a two-post lift to raise a vehicle, where should the lift arms be placed? A. Under frame rails or pinch welds at lift points. B. Under control arms and subframe mounting points. C. At front and rear bumper reinforcements only. D. Under the engine cradle and rear axle beam area. The correct answer is A. Lift arms on a two-post lift must be positioned under the manufacturer-specified lift points, which are typically the frame rails on body-on-frame vehicles or the reinforced pinch welds on unibody vehicles. These points are designed to support the vehicle's weight safely. Lifting from control arms, subframes, or bumpers can cause damage and create an unstable lifting condition. Most vehicles have lift point diagrams in their service manuals, and many have visible markers or reinforced areas specifically for lift placement. Question 6. When performing a skin tool readiness monitor check on an OBD2 vehicle, what does incomplete status for the catalyst monitor indicate? A. The catalytic converter has completely failed. B. The oxygen sensors need replacement due to degraded performance. C. The catalyst efficiency is below threshold. D. The monitor has not completed its diagnostic test cycle yet. The correct answer is D. When a readiness monitor shows incomplete or not ready status, it means that particular monitor has not completed its diagnostic test cycle since the last time the codes were cleared or the battery was disconnected. The catalyst monitor requires specific driving conditions, sustained highway speeds, engine warm-up cycles, to complete its test. An incomplete status does not indicate a failure, it simply means the vehicle's computer has not yet run that particular test. Vehicles typically need to complete a specific drive cycle to set all monitors to ready status for emissions testing. Question 7. When using technical service information to diagnose a vehicle concern, what is the correct sequence of steps? A. Look up recalls, then check TSBs, then follow procedures. B. Start with diagnostic procedures, check DTCs, review TSBs. C. Verify complaint, check DTCs, search TSBs, then follow manufacturer procedures. D. Clear all DTCs first, search for TSBs, visual inspection. The correct answer is C. The proper diagnostic sequence using technical service information is, first verify the customer's complaint to understand the concern, then retrieve any stored diagnostic trouble codes, DTCs, search for applicable technical service bulletins, TSBs, that may address known issues, and finally follow the manufacturer's diagnostic procedures. This systematic approach ensures that known issues are identified early and proper diagnostic steps are followed. Clearing DTCs before diagnosis can erase valuable diagnostic information. Question 8. A technician is diagnosing a no-start condition on a 2020 vehicle. The skin tool shows communication with the PCM but displays no communication with the BCM. What is the most likely cause? A. The PCM has failed and needs immediate replacement. B. The CAN bus has an open between PCM and BCM. C. The battery voltage is too low for module operation. D. The skin tool is not compatible with this vehicle. The correct answer is B. When a skin tool can communicate with one module, PCM, but not another, BCM, on the same CAN bus network, the most likely cause is a fault in the network wiring between those modules. This could be an open circuit in the CAN high or CAN low wire, a faulty terminating resistor, or a damaged connector. If the battery voltage was too low, communication would likely be affected with all modules. If the PCM had failed, the skin tool would not be able to communicate with it. If the skin tool was incompatible, it typically wouldn't communicate with any modules. Question 9. A customer complains of grinding when braking. Inspection shows worn brake pads and scored rotors. How should the technician communicate the repair recommendation? A. Tell customer brakes must be replaced immediately now. B. Explain condition, show evidence, present options. C. Recommend only replacing the pads to minimize cost. D. Write up the repair without discussing with customer. The correct answer is B. Effective communication involves explaining findings in understandable terms, showing physical evidence, and presenting repair options with safety implications. This allows the customer to make an informed decision. Using scare tactics or minimizing needed repairs are both unprofessional. A professional technician educates the customer while respecting their right to make the final decision. Question 10. What is the primary function of the thermostat in an engine cooling system? A. To pump coolant through the engine block and connecting hoses. B. To pressurize the system for a higher coolant boiling point. C. To remove heat from coolant passing through the radiator core. D. To regulate coolant flow based on engine temperature readings. The correct answer is D. The thermostat regulates coolant flow based on engine temperature. When the engine is cold, the thermostat remains closed, allowing the engine to warm up quickly. As the engine reaches operating temperature, typically 82 to 95 degrees Celsius or 180 to 203 degrees Fahrenheit, the thermostat opens to allow coolant to flow through the radiator. This helps maintain optimal engine operating temperature for efficiency and emissions control. Question 11. In a modern gasoline direct injection (GDI) engine, what is the typical fuel pressure at the high-pressure fuel rail? A. 40 to 60 psi, 276 to 414 kilopascals, low pressure. B. 150 to 200 psi, 1034 to 1379 kilopascals, medium. C. 500 to 2900 psi, 3,447 to 20,000 kilopascals, high. D. 5,000 to 30,000 psi, 34,474 to 206,843 kilopascals. The correct answer is C. Gasoline direct injection (GDI) systems operate at much higher pressures than traditional poured fuel injection. The high-pressure fuel pump creates pressures typically ranging from 500 to 2,900 psi, 3,447 to 20,000 kilopascals, depending on engine load and operating conditions. This high pressure is necessary to inject fuel directly into the combustion chamber against compression pressure. Traditional poured injection systems operate at only 40 to 60 psi. Question 12. When performing an oil pressure test on a warm engine at idle, what is the correct procedure? A. Install gauge at sending unit port and read immediately after starting. B. Connect gauge to dipstick tube and measure at 3000 rpm under load. C. Install gauge at filter housing port, warm engine, record idle reading. D. Install gauge at drain plug and measure pressure with the engine off. The correct answer is C. Installing the gauge at the oil filter housing, warming the engine to operating temperature, and recording the idle reading is the correct oil pressure test procedure. The filter housing provides a direct, accurate measurement point for the lubrication system. Specifications vary by manufacturer but typically range from 25 to 65 psi at idle. The engine must reach operating temperature before readings are taken, as cold oil pressure will be artificially high and not representative of normal conditions. Question 13. When performing a cylinder compression test, what indicates a possible head gasket failure between two adjacent cylinders? A. All cylinders show equally low compression readings throughout engine. B. Two adjacent cylinders show low readings that increase with added oil. C. Two adjacent cylinders show low readings that do not improve with oil. D. One cylinder shows zero compression while all others are normal. The correct answer is C. Two adjacent cylinders with similarly low readings that do not improve during a wet test is the definitive sign of a head gasket breach between those cylinders. The key indicator is that the readings remain unchanged when oil is added, because oil can seal worn rings but cannot seal a gasket failure. If the readings did improve with oil, worn rings or cylinder walls would be the cause instead. The adjacency of the two low cylinders is what distinguishes a head gasket breach from other compression loss patterns. Question 14. What is the correct method for checking serpentine belt tension using a belt tension gauge? A. Measure tension on shortest span between pulleys with engine running. B. Measure tension on longest span between pulleys with the engine off. C. Apply tension gauge perpendicular to the belt over 300 mm span section. D. Measure deflection by pressing on belt near the automatic tensioner. The correct answer is C. When using a belt tension gauge, the correct procedure is to apply the gauge perpendicular to the belt on a span longer than 300 mm, 12 inches, with the engine off. The gauge measures the force required to deflect the belt a specific amount, which indicates proper tension. Most modern vehicles use automatic tensioners, but the measurement technique remains the same for verification. Always compare readings to manufacturer specifications. Question 15. When replacing a water pump, what is the correct procedure for preparing the mounting surface? A. Apply RTV sealant generously to both mounting surfaces without cleaning. B. Install new pump directly over the old gasket for better sealing quality. C. Use wire wheel-on drill to clean the surface quickly and easily. D. Clean both mating surfaces, remove old gasket, apply correct sealant. The correct answer is D. The correct procedure for water pump replacement includes thoroughly cleaning the mounting surface and removing all old gasket material using appropriate tools such as a plastic scraper or gasket remover chemical. Metal scrapers can damage aluminum housings. After cleaning, apply a new gasket or RTV sealant as specified by the manufacturer. Some water pumps use O-rings which require lubrication with coolant before installation. Question 16. After replacing an oil pan gasket, what is the correct torque sequence for the pan bolts? A. Torque all bolts from one end to the other in a single pass. B. Torque bolts in circular pattern starting at any corner point. C. Torque in crisscross pattern from center outward, multi-pass. D. Hand tighten all bolts then use impact wrench for final torque. The correct answer is C. Oil pan bolts should be torqued in a crisscross pattern starting from the center and working outward. This ensures even gasket compression and prevents warping. The process should be done in multiple passes, typically starting at 50% of final torque, then 75%, and finally 100%. Using an impact wrench can over-torque bolts and damage the gasket or pan flange. Always follow manufacturer torque specifications. Question 17. When installing a timing chain on a DOHC engine, what must be verified before rotating the crankshaft? A. All timing marks on cam and crank sprockets aligned. B. Engine oil level is at the full mark on dipstick tube. C. The spark plugs have been removed from the block. D. The battery has been disconnected for safety. The correct answer is A. Before rotating the crankshaft after timing chain installation on a DOHC engine, all timing marks on the camshaft sprockets and crankshaft sprocket must be properly aligned according to manufacturer specifications. Improper timing mark alignment can cause piston-to-valve contact on interference engines, resulting in catastrophic engine damage. After verification, the engine should be rotated by hand through 2 complete revolutions and the marks rechecked. Question 18. When diagnosing a fuel injector on a port fuel injection system, what does a NOID light test indicate? A. The presence of the control signal pulse to the injector. B. The amount of fuel being delivered by the injector during operation. C. The fuel pressure at the injector inlet port connection. D. The resistance of the injector coil windings in ohms. The correct answer is A. A NOID light is a simple test light that connects to the fuel injector electrical connector to verify that the PCM is sending the proper pulse signal to operate the injector. When the engine is cranked or running, the NOID light should flash, indicating that the electrical signal is present. This test helps determine whether a no-fuel condition is caused by an electrical issue, no signal, or a mechanical issue, stuck injector. It does not measure fuel quantity, pressure, or resistance. Question 19. What is the correct procedure for testing intake manifold vacuum on a gasoline engine? A. Connect gauge to direct manifold vacuum port at operating temp, idle. B. Connect gauge to exhaust manifold and measure at idle speed RPM. C. Connect gauge to PCV valve hose with the engine at 3000 RPM. D. Connect gauge to brake booster hose with the engine running cold. The correct answer is A. To properly test intake manifold vacuum, connect a vacuum gauge to a direct manifold vacuum port, not ported vacuum, with the engine at normal operating temperature and running at idle in park or neutral. Normal readings for a healthy engine at sea level are typically 57 to 75 kilopascals and should be steady. Low, fluctuating, or erratic readings can indicate various engine problems such as vacuum leaks, valve issues, or timing problems. Question 20. When testing an EVAP system for leaks, what is the maximum allowable leak rate that will typically cause a DTC to set? A. Any leak regardless of size will set a code. B. A small leak as small as 0.020 inches, 0.5 millimeters. C. A medium leak of 0.040 inch, 1.0 millimeters, diameter or more. D. Only gross leaks larger than 0.100 inch, 2.5 millimeters. The correct answer is B. Modern EVAP systems are designed to detect very small leaks. The OBD2 standard requires the system to detect leaks as small as 0.020 inches, 0.5 millimeters, in diameter, which is approximately the size of a grain of sand. When performing smoke testing or pressure decay testing, equipment must be sensitive enough to detect these small leaks. The 0.040 inch test is used for gross leak detection, while the 0.020 inch test is for small leak detection. Question 21. When replacing a fuel pump module in a fuel tank, what safety precaution must be taken first? A. Wear leather gloves and safety glasses for personal protection only. B. Remove the spark plugs to prevent the engine from starting. C. Drain all engine oil from the vehicle crankcase first before work. D. Relieve fuel system pressure first, then disconnect battery. The correct answer is D. Before replacing a fuel pump module, the fuel system pressure must be relieved to prevent fuel spray when disconnecting lines. The battery must be disconnected to prevent sparks that could ignite fuel vapors. The work area must have proper ventilation to disperse fuel vapors. A fire extinguisher should be nearby. Never work near open flames, sparks, or sources of ignition. Fuel spills should be cleaned immediately with appropriate absorbent materials. Question 22. After replacing ignition coils on a coil-on plug system, what verification should be performed? A. Check fuel pressure only to verify fuel delivery to engine. B. Verify coil seating, clear DTCs, confirm no misfire codes. C. Measure battery voltage at the alternator output terminal. D. Perform a transmission fluid level check before anything. The correct answer is B. After replacing ignition coils on a coil-on plug, COP, system, verify that each coil is fully seated on the spark plug and the electrical connector is properly secured. Clear any existing DTCs and start the engine. Use a scan tool to monitor misfire counters and confirm no new misfire codes set. The engine should idle smoothly without rough running or misfires. A test drive under various load conditions helps confirm proper operation. Question 23. When diagnosing a diesel common rail fuel system, what special precaution must be observed regarding fuel pressure? A. Diesel fuel pressure is low, so no special precautions are needed. B. Wait for pressure bleed down period or use scan tool to relieve. C. Simply disconnect the battery to relieve all system pressure. D. Open the fuel filler cap to relieve all system pressure. The correct answer is B. Common rail diesel fuel systems operate at extremely high pressures, typically 23,000 to 30,000 psi, 1,600 to 2,000 bar. This pressure can cause serious injury or death if lines are opened under pressure. Before servicing, allow adequate time for pressure to bleed down, follow manufacturer procedures, or use a scan tool to command the system to relieve pressure. Never attempt to open any high-pressure connections until pressure is confirmed to be relieved. Question 24. When testing a diesel turbocharger for boost pressure, where should the pressure gauge be connected? A. To the intake manifold port after the intercooler. B. To the exhaust manifold located before the turbocharger. C. To the fuel rail pressure test port connection point. D. To the crankcase ventilation system outlet port. The correct answer is A. Boost pressure testing on a diesel turbocharger system requires connecting the pressure gauge to the intake manifold or charge air pipe after the turbocharger and intercooler, if equipped. This measures the actual boost pressure delivered to the engine. Readings should be taken during acceleration under load and compared to manufacturer specifications. Low boost can indicate turbo bearing wear, wastegate issues, or charge air leaks. Question 25. What is the purpose of the diesel exhaust fluid, DEF, used in SCR emission systems? A. To lubricate the diesel fuel injectors during normal operation. B. To cool exhaust gases before they reach the catalytic converter. C. To provide ammonia that chemically reacts with NOx emissions. D. To improve diesel fuel combustion efficiency in the cylinder. The correct answer is C. Diesel exhaust fluid, DEF, also known as AdBlue, is a 32.5% urea solution that is injected into the exhaust stream upstream of the SCR, selective catalytic reduction, catalyst. The heat converts the urea to ammonia, which then reacts with nitrogen oxides, NOx, in the SCR catalyst to form harmless nitrogen gas and water vapor. This system can reduce NOx emissions by up to 90%. DEF must be replenished regularly and stored properly to maintain effectiveness. Question 26. A diesel vehicle with a common rail system has hard starting and white smoke on cold starts that clears after warm-up. Fuel pressure is within specification. What is the most likely cause? A. Clogged fuel filter restricting fuel flow to the injectors. B. Low engine oil level causing poor cylinder compression. C. Restricted exhaust system creating excess back pressure. D. Faulty glow plug system or weakened glow plugs. The correct answer is D. White smoke on cold start that clears after warm-up, combined with hard starting, typically indicates a glow plug system problem. Glow plugs preheat the combustion chambers to aid cold starting. If the glow plugs are weak, burned out, or the glow plug control module is faulty, the combustion chambers won't reach proper temperature for ignition, causing incomplete combustion, white smoke, and hard starting. Since fuel pressure is within spec, fuel delivery is not the issue. Once the engine warms up, the glow plugs are no longer needed, so symptoms disappear. Question 27. A diesel truck has reduced power and black smoke under load. Boost pressure is 5 psi below specification. Intake pipes show no leaks. What should be inspected next? A. Engine coolant level and condition in the reservoir tank. B. Turbocharger wastegate operation and VGT vanes. C. Transmission fluid level and condition on the dipstick. D. Power steering fluid level and condition in reservoir. The correct answer is B. Low boost pressure with no intake leaks points to a turbocharger problem. On variable geometry turbochargers, VGT, sticking vanes are a common cause of low boost and reduced power. The vanes can become stuck due to carbon buildup, preventing proper boost control. On wastegate-controlled turbos, a stuck open or improperly adjusted wastegate will cause low boost. The turbocharger bearings, compressor wheel, and shaft should also be inspected for wear or damage that could cause reduced efficiency. Question 28. A diesel vehicle displays a DEF system malfunction warning and enters reduced power mode. DEF level is adequate and the fluid quality tests normal. What should be diagnosed? A. Replace the DEF tank immediately as a complete unit. B. Replace the diesel particulate filter assembly now. C. Drain the DEF tank and refill with fresh fluid. D. Check DEF injector, supply pump, lines, and NOx sensors. The correct answer is D. With adequate DEF level and good fluid quality, the malfunction is likely in the delivery or monitoring systems. The DEF injector can become clogged or fail. The DEF supply pump may be weak or inoperative. Lines and the injector can develop crystallization from old or contaminated DEF. The NOx sensors, upstream and downstream of the SC are catalyst, monitor system effectiveness and can fail or give erroneous readings. A systematic diagnosis of these components using skin tool data and functional tests will identify the fault. Question 29. A vehicle overheats only when idling in traffic but runs at normal temperature when driving on the highway. Coolant level is correct and there are no visible leaks. What is the most likely cause? A. Thermostat stuck open causing slow warm-up. B. Radiator internally restricted blocking flow. C. Cooling fan or fan clutch not engaging properly. D. Water pump impeller slipping on internal shaft. The correct answer is C. Overheating only at idle but not at highway speed indicates inadequate airflow through the radiator at low vehicle speeds. At highway speeds, ram air provides sufficient cooling. At idle, the cooling fan must provide airflow. If the electric fan is not operating, faulty motor, relay, or temperature sensor, or if a mechanical fan clutch is worn over slipping, insufficient air will flow through the radiator. A thermostat stuck open would cause slow warm-up, not overheating. A restricted radiator would typically cause overheating at all speeds. Question 30. A GDI engine has a rough idle and P0300, random misfire, code. Fuel pressure is correct. Spark plugs and coils test good. Carbon buildup is noted on the intake valves. What is the root cause and recommended repair? A. Replace all fuel injectors immediately as a complete set. B. Replace the catalytic converter due to contamination. C. GDI lacks port fuel wash, perform intake valve cleaning. D. Install a new air filter element to improve airflow. The correct answer is C. GDI engines are prone to intake valve carbon buildup because fuel is injected directly into the combustion chamber rather than into the intake port where it would wash over the intake valves. Without fuel spray to clean them, carbon deposits from blow-by gases accumulate on the intake valves, affecting airflow and causing misfires. The repair involves cleaning the intake valves using walnut shell blasting, chemical cleaning, or manual cleaning. Some manufacturers recommend catch cans or periodic cleaning services to prevent recurrence. Question 31. A vehicle fails an OBD2 emissions test due to catalyst efficiency below threshold, P0420. The downstream oxygen sensor signal closely mirrors the upstream sensor. What does this indicate? A. The upstream oxygen sensor is faulty or has contamination. B. The engine is running too rich with excess fuel delivery. C. The catalytic converter is not storing oxygen properly. D. The fuel injectors need cleaning or complete replacement. The correct answer is C. When functioning properly, a catalytic converter stores and releases oxygen, causing the downstream oxygen sensor to show a relatively steady signal compared to the switching upstream sensor. If the downstream sensor signal mirrors, switches rapidly like the upstream sensor, this indicates the catalytic converter is not storing oxygen effectively and has lost its ability to reduce emissions. This catalyst efficiency failure means the converter needs replacement. While an engine running too rich can damage a converter, the mirror signal pattern specifically indicates a failed converter. Question 32. What does the term CAN stand for in automotive networking? A. Controller Area Network Protocol for Module Communication. B. Computer Automotive Network for Vehicle Diagnostics and Data. C. Central Access Node for High-Speed Data Transmission Systems. D. Communication and Networking for Vehicles. The correct answer is A. CAN stands for Controller Area Network. It is a robust vehicle bus standard designed to allow microcontrollers and devices to communicate with each other without a host computer. CAN was developed by Bosch in the 1980s and has become the standard for in-vehicle networking. Modern vehicles use high-speed CAN, up to 1 megabit per second, for powertrain systems and low-speed CAN for body control functions. Question 33. When retrieving diagnostic trouble codes using a scan tool, what should be done before clearing the codes? A. Clear the codes immediately to see if they return. B. Disconnect the battery to reset the vehicle system. C. Record all codes, freeze frame data, and mode $6 results. D. Replace the component indicated by the first code. The correct answer is C. Before clearing diagnostic trouble codes, all codes, freeze frame data, and mode $6 test results should be recorded. Freeze frame data captures the operating conditions when the fault occurred, engine speed, coolant temperature, fuel trims, etc. Mode $6 contains component test results. This information is essential for proper diagnosis. Clearing codes without recording this data can make diagnosis more difficult and may require driving the vehicle to reproduce the fault. Question 34. When monitoring live data on a scan tool, what parameter indicates the PCM is in closed-loop fuel control? A. Engine coolant temperature above 80 degrees Celsius at operating temp. B. Throttle position sensor at 0% indicating closed throttle. C. Ignition timing held at base timing value specifications. D. Short-term fuel trim actively adjusting based on oxygen. The correct answer is D. Closed-loop fuel control is indicated when the short-term fuel trim, STFT, values are actively adjusting based on oxygen sensor feedback. In closed loop, the PCM uses oxygen sensor readings to fine-tune the air over fuel mixture, causing fuel trim values to fluctuate. In open loop, during warm-up or wide-open throttle, the PCM uses pre-programmed values and fuel trims remain relatively static. Most scan tools also have a specific fuel system status parameter showing open loop or closed loop. Question 35. When testing CAN bus circuit integrity, what is the expected resistance reading between CAN high and CAN low with all modules connected? A. 0 ohms, short circuit between wires. B. 120 ohms, single terminating resistor. C. 60 ohms, parallel terminating resistors. D. Infinite ohms, open circuit detected. The correct answer is C. A properly functioning CAN bus network has two 120 ohm terminating resistors at each end of the bus. When measured together, in parallel, they should read approximately 60 ohms between CAN high and CAN low with the ignition off and all modules connected. A reading of 120 ohms indicates one terminating resistor is missing or a module is disconnected. Readings near 0 ohms indicate a short, and infinite resistance indicates an open circuit. Question 36. When using an oscilloscope to analyze CAN bus signals, what waveform pattern indicates normal operation? A. A flat line at 0 volts with no activity present on scope. B. CAN high at 3.5 V and CAN low at 1.5 V in dominant state. C. Both CAN high and CAN low held at 5 V continuously output. D. Random voltage spikes between 0 and 12 volts on screen. The correct answer is B. Normal CAN bus operation shows CAN high rising to approximately 3.5 V and CAN low dropping to approximately 1.5 V during dominant bit transmission, logic 0. During recessive bits, logic 1, both lines rest at approximately 2.5 V. The differential voltage between the two lines is what carries the data. This differential signaling provides noise immunity. The waveform should show clean, square transitions between states. Question 37. When interpreting scan tool data, what does a consistently negative long-term fuel trim, LTFT, value of -15% indicate? A. The engine is running lean and adding fuel to compensate. B. Normal fuel system operation within acceptable spec range. C. The oxygen sensors are faulty and giving incorrect readings. D. Engine is running rich, so the PCM is removing fuel. The correct answer is D. A negative long-term fuel trim value indicates the PCM is removing fuel from the base fuel calculation. A value of -15% means the PCM is consistently reducing fuel delivery by 15% to achieve the correct air-over-fuel ratio. This indicates the engine is running rich, too much fuel, and could be caused by a leaking fuel injector, high fuel pressure, faulty MAF sensor reading low, or other issues causing excess fuel. Normal LTFT values are typically within plus or minus 10%. Question 38. When performing a module software update, reflash, what precaution must be taken regarding vehicle battery voltage? A. Battery voltage is not important during programming. B. Maintain voltage above 12.4 V using a battery support tool. C. Disconnect the battery during programming procedure. D. The vehicle should be running during programming. The correct answer is B. During module programming over reflashing, stable voltage is critical. Battery voltage must be maintained above 12.4 V. Some manufacturers require higher, throughout the procedure. A battery support tool or approved charger should be connected to maintain voltage. Voltage drops during programming can corrupt the module software, potentially requiring module replacement. The engine should not be running during most programming procedures, and the battery should not be disconnected. Question 39. After replacing a body control module, BCM, what procedure is typically required? A. No additional steps are needed after physical install. B. Module programming, VIN setup, and security relearn. C. Replace the PCM at the same time as the BCM module. D. Disconnect all other modules on the CAN network. The correct answer is B. After replacing a body control module, BCM, the new module typically requires programming with vehicle-specific software and configuration. This includes setting options for installed equipment, power windows, locks, lighting, etc., VIN programming, and security system relearn procedures. Many BCMs control the immobilizer system, requiring key relearn procedures. Without proper programming, the vehicle may not start or various features may not function correctly. Question 40. When repairing a damaged CAN bus wire, what is the correct repair procedure? A. Twist the wires together and wrap with electrical tape only. B. Solder the connection, apply heat shrink, maintain twist. C. Replace only damaged section with any available wire gauge. D. Bypass the damaged section with a single wire connection. The correct answer is B. CAN bus wire repairs require proper splicing techniques using solder and heat shrink tubing. The twisted pair configuration must be maintained, as the twisting provides noise immunity through balanced signal transmission. The repair should use the correct wire gauge and maintain the same twist rate. Improper repairs can cause intermittent communication issues, noise on the bus, or complete communication failure. Some manufacturers require specific repair procedures or connector repairs instead of splicing. Question 41. A vehicle has multiple U-codes, communication codes, stored for various modules. The scan tool can communicate with some modules but not others. CAN bus resistance measures 120 ohms. What is the most likely cause? A. All modules on the network have failed completely now. B. The scan tool is incompatible with this specific vehicle. C. One bus terminator is missing or the bus is open. D. The battery voltage is too low for module communication. The correct answer is C. A CAN bus resistance reading of 120 ohms, instead of the normal 60 ohms, indicates that one of the two terminating resistors is not being measured in the circuit. This typically means either one terminating resistor has failed, or there is an open circuit in the bus isolating a section of the network. This explains why some modules communicate while others don't. The modules past the break are isolated from the network. Diagnosis should focus on locating the open circuit in the bus wiring. Question 42. After replacing a transmission control module, TCM, and completing programming, the transmission shifts harshly. What additional procedure is likely needed? A. Perform an adaptive reset procedure and road test. B. Replace the transmission assembly completely as one unit. C. Replace the valve body and solenoid pack components. D. Add transmission fluid to the manufacturer's proper level. The correct answer is A. New or reprogrammed transmission control modules need to relearn adaptive shift values. The previous module had learned the specific characteristics of that transmission's clutches and shift timing. The new module starts with default values that may not match the actual transmission. Performing an adaptive learning reset followed by a proper road test under various driving conditions allows the TCM to learn and store the correct shift parameters. This typically resolves harsh shifting after module replacement. Question 43. A vehicle intermittently displays reduced engine power and stores U0100, lost communication with ECM over PCM. The problem occurs when driving over bumps. Where should diagnosis focus? A. Replace the ECM over PCM immediately as faulty module. B. Check CAN wiring and connectors for damage. C. Replace the fuel pump module assembly immediately. D. Check the ignition switch for proper vehicle operation. The correct answer is B. Intermittent communication loss that correlates with vehicle movement over bumps strongly suggests a wiring or connector issue. The CAN bus wiring and connector should be inspected for chafing, corrosion, loose pins, or damaged terminals that could cause intermittent opens or shorts when the wiring flexes. Common problem areas include harness routing near suspension components, underhood connectors exposed to heat and vibration, and ground connections. A wiggle test while monitoring for communication loss can help locate the fault. Question 44. What is the primary advantage of a constant velocity, CV, joint over a conventional U-joint? A. CV joints transmit power at a constant velocity smoothly. B. CV joints are less expensive to manufacture properly. C. CV joints require no lubrication to operate smoothly. D. CV joints can handle higher torque loads overall. The correct answer is A. The primary advantage of constant velocity, CV, joints is that they transmit power at a constant velocity regardless of the operating angle. Conventional U-joints cause speed fluctuations as the driveshaft rotates through angles. The output speed varies twice per revolution. CV joints eliminate the speed variation, providing smooth power transmission. This is essential for front-wheel drive vehicles where the drive axles must accommodate steering angles while transmitting power. Question 45. In an automatic transmission, what is the function of the torque converter lockup clutch? A. To provide direct connection, eliminating slip. B. To prevent the vehicle from rolling backward on inclines. C. To multiply engine torque during acceleration events. D. To control shift timing between all forward gears. The correct answer is A. The torque converter lockup clutch provides a direct mechanical connection between the engine and transmission, eliminating the inherent slip in the torque converter. This improves fuel economy by reducing power losses through the converter fluid coupling. The lockup clutch typically engages in higher gears at steady cruising speeds when torque multiplication is not needed. Without lockup, approximately 2 to 4% of engine power is lost to converter slip. Question 46. When diagnosing a clicking noise from the front of a FWD vehicle during turns, what is the correct test procedure? A. Road test at highway speed in a straight line only. B. Remove the wheels and spin the axles by hand gently. C. Listen for noise while vehicle is idling in park gear. D. Tight circles both directions, accelerate. The correct answer is D. The correct procedure for diagnosing CV joint noise is to drive the vehicle in tight circles in both directions while lightly accelerating. A worn outer CV joint will typically click or pop when turning in the direction that loads that joint, e.g., turning right loads the left outer CV joint. The turning motion increases the joint angle, which stresses the worn joint. The noise is usually worse during acceleration when the joint is under load. Question 47. When checking the fluid level in a manual transmission, what condition must be met? A. Engine running at idle with transmission in neutral. B. Vehicle level, engine off, fluid checked at fill plug. C. Vehicle on a lift with the front end raised higher. D. Transmission warm and vehicle driving on the road. The correct answer is B. Manual transmission fluid level is checked with the vehicle on a level surface and the engine off. Remove the fill plug and the fluid should be at the bottom edge of the fill hole. If fluid does not reach this level, add the correct type of fluid until it begins to run out. Some manual transmissions share fluid with the differential in transaxle applications, so always verify the correct fill procedure and fluid type for the specific vehicle. Question 48. What is the correct procedure for checking automatic transmission fluid level? A. Check cold with engine off on a level surface only. B. Any condition is acceptable as long as vehicle is level. C. Check with engine running in drive, foot on the brake. D. Follow manufacturer-specific procedure at operating temp. The correct answer is D. The manufacturer procedure must be followed exactly because ATF checking methods vary significantly between vehicles, and the fluid must be at operating temperature for an accurate reading. Each manufacturer specifies different conditions, some require park, others neutral, some use dipsticks while newer models use fill plugs or skin tools. The transmission needs 10 to 15 minutes of driving to reach proper temperature. No single generic method works for all vehicles, which is why the manufacturer-specific procedure at operating temperature is the only reliable approach. Question 49. When road testing an automatic transmission, what indicates possible torque converter shudder? A. Vibration at light throttle application, 35 to 65 km per hour range. B. A consistent whining noise present at all vehicle speeds. C. Hard shifts between all gears during normal operation. D. No forward movement when shifted into drive gear. The correct answer is A. Torque converter shudder is characterized by a vibration or shudder felt during light throttle acceleration at steady speeds, typically between 35 to 65 km per hour, 20 to 40 miles per hour. This occurs when the lockup clutch is engaging. The shudder is caused by the lockup clutch slipping and grabbing due to worn friction material or degraded transmission fluid. It often feels similar to driving over rumble strips. Fresh transmission fluid with proper friction modifiers may resolve mild cases. Question 50. When diagnosing clutch problems, what does clutch pedal pulsation typically indicate? A. Normal clutch operation during engagement. B. Worn clutch release bearing condition. C. Low clutch fluid level in reservoir. D. Flywheel or pressure plate warpage. The correct answer is D. Clutch pedal pulsation felt when the pedal is depressed typically indicates warpage of the flywheel or pressure plate. As these components rotate, the high spots push back against the release bearing, causing a pulsating feeling in the pedal. This can be caused by overheating from clutch slippage or improper torque during installation. The flywheel should be measured for runout and either resurfaced or replaced. The pressure plate should be replaced. If you're finding these questions helpful, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. It helps other apprentices find this resource too. Now let's continue. Question 51. When diagnosing a transfer case, what symptom indicates a possible viscous coupling failure in an AWD system? A. No four-wheel drive engagement when mode selected. B. Vehicle pulls to one side during hard braking. C. Loud grinding noise in all gears and at all speeds. D. Binding or crow hop noise when turning corners. The correct answer is D. A failed viscous coupling in an AWD transfer case can cause binding or crow hop during tight turns on dry pavement. The viscous coupling is designed to allow speed differences between front and rear axles during turns. When it fails, locks up, it forces the axles to rotate at the same speed, causing binding and will hop as the tires fight for traction. This is most noticeable in tight turns on high-traction surfaces like dry pavement. Question 52. When checking differential backlash, what is the proper procedure? A. Measure gap between ring and pinion with feeler gauge. B. Check the torque required to rotate the pinion shaft. C. Measure the end play of the pinion bearing preload. D. Dial indicator mounted on carrier, measure ring gear play. The correct answer is D. Differential backlash is measured using a dial indicator mounted on the differential carrier housing. The indicator plunger contacts a ring gear tooth. With the pinion held stationary, the ring gear is rotated back and forth to measure the total movement, backlash. This measurement should be taken at multiple points around the ring gear to ensure consistency. Backlash specifications vary but are typically 0.15 to 0.25 mm, 0.006 to 0.010 inches. Incorrect backlash causes noise and premature gear wear. Question 53. What does a howling noise from a differential that changes when accelerating versus coasting indicate? A. Ring and pinion gear wear or improper mesh pattern requiring inspection. B. Low differential fluid level in housing cavity causing gear damage. C. Worn wool bearings on the axle shafts themselves causing noise. D. Faulty universal joint causing driveline vibration under load. The correct answer is A. A howling noise from the differential that changes character between acceleration and deceleration, coast, typically indicates ring and pinion gear issues. During acceleration, the drive side of the gear teeth are loaded. During coast, the coast side is loaded. If the gear pattern is incorrect or the bearing preload is wrong, the noise character changes as the load shifts between gear tooth surfaces. This requires differential disassembly to inspect and correct gear patterns and preloads. Question 54. When replacing a CV axle, what must be done to the transmission before removal? A. Drain all transmission fluid before starting work. B. Disconnect the battery for electrical safety first. C. Have drain pen ready, some fluid escapes. D. Remove the transmission mount for access to axle. The correct answer is C. When removing a CV axle from a transaxle, some transmission fluid may leak out when the axle is pulled from the side gear. A drain pan should be positioned to catch any fluid. The amount of fluid lost is usually minimal, less than 500 milliliters, but the level should be checked and topped up after installation. Some technicians install a plug or old inner CV joint to prevent fluid loss during the repair. Full fluid drain is typically not required. Question 55. When replacing a manual transmission synchronizer, what component wear pattern indicates the need for replacement? A. Worn friction teeth on the synchronizer that slip. B. Shiny polished appearance on the synchronizer ring surface. C. Slight discoloration of the synchronizer hub mounting area. D. Clean polished gear teeth on the gear cluster assembly. The correct answer is A. Synchronizer rings use friction teeth or grooves to grip the gear cone and equalize speeds for smooth engagement. When these friction surfaces are worn smooth or the teeth are damaged, the synchronizer cannot slow the gear effectively, causing grinding or difficulty shifting. The synchronizer ring should be inspected for worn friction surfaces, rounded teeth, and compared to the gear cone surface. Both components may need replacement if wear is excessive. Question 56. After completing an automatic transmission fluid and filter change, what verification should be performed? A. Only check for leaks at the pan gasket area. B. Just start the engine and drive away immediately. C. Verify fluid level, check all seals for leaks, road test. D. Perform a transmission flush before road testing. The correct answer is C. After an automatic transmission service, verify the correct fluid level following the manufacturer's specific procedure, which may require the transmission at operating temperature, engine running, in a specific gear. Check all connections and the pan for leaks. Road test the vehicle to verify smooth shifting through all gears, proper lockup clutch engagement, and no abnormal noises or vibrations. Recheck the fluid level after the road test, as the level may change once fluid circulates through the entire system. Question 57. A customer complains that their automatic transmission slips only when cold but shifts normally when warm. The fluid level is correct. What is the most likely cause? A. Internal seal hardening causing cold weather leak. B. The transmission needs to be replaced completely now. C. The torque converter is faulty and slipping under load. D. The shift solenoids are stuck in one position setting. The correct answer is A. Slipping only when cold that resolves when warm typically indicates hardened internal seals, such as piston seals or accumulator seals. When cold, the hardened seals do not seal properly, allowing pressure to leak past and causing slip. As the transmission warms up, the seals expand slightly and the fluid thins, improving the seal. This is common in higher mileage transmissions. Seal conditioner additives may provide temporary relief, but a rebuild is typically needed for a permanent fix. Question 58. A manual transmission vehicle has a clutch that chatters, grabs and releases repeatedly during engagement. What is the most likely cause? A. Contamination buildup on clutch friction surfaces. B. The clutch cable is out of its adjustment range. C. The pilot bearing is worn beyond specification limit. D. The flywheel is too light for this application. The correct answer is A. Clutch chatter during engagement is typically caused by contamination on the clutch disc friction surfaces. Oil or grease contamination, from a leaking rear main seal, transmission input shaft seal, or hydraulic fluid leak, causes the clutch to grab and slip repeatedly during engagement. The contaminated disc cannot provide smooth, consistent friction. Other causes include glazed surfaces, worn disc springs, or loose flywheel, but contamination is most common. The source of contamination must be identified and repaired. Question 59. A 4WD vehicle's transfer case makes a grinding noise when shifting from 2WD to 4WD while the vehicle is moving. What is the proper diagnosis approach? A. Replace the transfer case immediately as a complete unit. B. Replace the front differential assembly components. C. Check the front wheel bearings for excessive play. D. Verify vehicle was stopped before shift, many require it. The correct answer is D. Many part-time 4WD transfer cases require the vehicle to be stopped, or nearly stopped, before shifting between 2WD and 4WD. Shifting while moving can cause grinding because the shift mechanism is trying to engage components rotating at different speeds. The first step is to verify the customer is using the correct shifting procedure. If grinding occurs even when following proper procedure, then internal synchronizer wear, shift fork damage, or motor over actuator issues should be investigated. Question 60. After a differential service, a vehicle exhibits a clunking noise on acceleration. The noise was not present before the service. What should be checked? A. Ring and pinion gear backlash and bearing preload. B. Front wheel bearings for wear or looseness issues. C. Engine mounts for deterioration or failure damage. D. Exhaust hangers for damage or looseness problems. The correct answer is A. A new clunking noise on acceleration after differential service suggests the ring and pinion backlash or bearing preloads were set incorrectly during reassembly. Excessive backlash causes a clunk when the drivetrain loads and unloads, acceleration to deceleration. Insufficient bearing preload allows gear movement. The differential should be disassembled and the backlash and preloads verified and corrected to specifications. A gear contact pattern check confirms proper gear mesh. Question 61. What is Ohm's law and how is it expressed? A. Power equals voltage times current, P equals V times I, formula. B. Resistance equals voltage plus current, R equals V plus I, total. C. Current equals power divided by voltage, I equals P over V, ratio. D. Voltage equals current times resistance, V equals IR. The correct answer is D. Ohm's law states that voltage equals current multiplied by resistance, V equals I times R, or alternatively, current equals voltage divided by resistance, I equals V divided by R. This fundamental electrical law describes the relationship between voltage, current, and resistance in an electrical circuit. Understanding Ohm's law is essential for diagnosing automotive electrical problems, calculating wire sizes, and understanding circuit behavior. Question 62. What is the typical charging voltage range for a healthy alternator charging a 12-volt automotive battery? A. Between 11.5 and 12.5 volts, which represents battery resting voltage only. B. In the range of 12.6 to 13.2 volts, which is still below proper charging level. C. Between 13.5 and 14.8 volts, which provides proper battery charging. D. Above 15.0 volts, reaching up to 16.5 volts for rapid charging capability. The correct answer is C. A healthy alternator should maintain charging voltage between approximately 13.5 to 14.8 volts. Some manufacturers specify slightly different ranges. This voltage is necessary to fully charge the battery and power vehicle electrical systems. Voltage below this range indicates undercharging, while voltage above this range can damage the battery and electrical components through overcharging. Temperature-compensated regulators may show slightly lower voltage in hot conditions. Question 63. When testing a circuit for a parasitic draw, what is the proper procedure? A. Connect ammeter in parallel with battery while running. B. Check voltage drop across alternator output while running. C. Measure voltage across battery with all accessories on. D. Disconnect negative cable, ammeter in series, wait for sleep. The correct answer is D. To test for parasitic draw, disconnect the negative battery cable and connect a digital ammeter in series between the cable and negative post. Allow sufficient time, up to 30 minutes on some vehicles, for all modules to enter sleep mode. The current draw should typically be under 50 mA. Check manufacturer specifications. Higher readings indicate excessive draw. The fuse box can then be used to isolate circuits to find the source of the draw. Question 64. When performing a battery load test, how long should the load be applied and what is the minimum acceptable voltage? A. Apply the specified load for 15 seconds with minimum voltage of 9.6 V at room temperature. B. A brief 5-second test is sufficient with voltage maintained above 11.5 V under load. C. Extended 30-second duration with voltage allowed to drop as low as 8.0 V is acceptable. D. Full 1-minute test while maintaining battery voltage above 12.0 V during entire test. The correct answer is A. A proper battery load test applies a load equal to half the CCA rating for 15 seconds. At 21 degrees Celsius, 70 degrees Fahrenheit, the voltage should not drop below 9.6 volts during this test. Lower temperatures require adjustment. The minimum voltage decreases as temperature drops. Before testing, the battery should be at least 75% charged, open circuit voltage of 12.4 V or higher. A battery that fails this test should be recharged and retested, then replaced if it fails again. Question 65. When diagnosing a headlight that is dim compared to the other side, what test should be performed first? A. Replace the bulb immediately with a new one. B. Replace the headlight switch assembly unit. C. Check the fuse for the headlight circuit. D. Measure voltage at the connector with the light on. The correct answer is D. When diagnosing a dim headlight, the first test should be measuring voltage at the headlight connector while the light is on. Compare the reading to the bright side. A significant voltage difference, more than 0.5 V, indicates resistance in the circuit, corroded ground, damaged connector, worn switch contacts. If voltage is equal on both sides, the issue is with the bulb or reflector. This systematic approach prevents unnecessary parts replacement. Question 66. When diagnosing an inaccurate fuel gauge, what test determines if the problem is in the sending unit or the gauge over circuit? A. Tap on the fuel tank to free a stuck float lever. B. Add fuel to the tank and retest gauge reading. C. Disconnect sender wire and apply known resistance values. D. Replace the instrument cluster panel assembly. The correct answer is C. To isolate whether a fuel gauge problem is in the sending unit or gauge over circuit, disconnect the sending unit wire and substitute known resistance values. Most fuel gauges operate on a variable resistance signal. Using a resistance substitution box or fixed resistors, apply values that should correspond to empty, half, and full. If the gauge responds correctly to the substitute resistances, the sending unit is faulty. If the gauge does not respond correctly, the problem is in the gauge or wiring. Question 67. After replacing a windshield on a vehicle equipped with a forward-facing camera, what service is required? A. No additional service is needed for the camera unit after glass replacement. B. Reset the PCM adaptive memory parameters completely before road test. C. Replace the camera along with the windshield glass as a complete unit. D. Camera calibration per manufacturer specifications and procedures. The correct answer is D. After windshield replacement on vehicles with forward-facing cameras, used for ADA South features like lane departure warning, automatic emergency braking, and adaptive cruise control, the camera must be properly aimed and calibrated. This requires specific tools, targets, and precise vehicle positioning per manufacturer specifications. Failure to calibrate can result in ADAS systems that do not function correctly or provide incorrect warnings and interventions, creating a safety hazard. Question 68. When repairing a damaged wiring harness, what is the preferred method for joining wires? A. Twist wires together and wrap with electrical tape only. B. Use crimp type but connectors without any solder at all. C. Solder the splice and protect with heat shrink tubing. D. Use wire nuts like in household wiring circuits work. The correct answer is C. The preferred method for permanent wire repairs in automotive applications is soldering the connection and protecting it with heat shrink tubing, preferably with adhesive lining. This creates a strong, low-resistance, moisture-resistant connection. Crimp connectors are acceptable for some repairs but provide higher resistance. Twist and tape connections are unreliable and can cause intermittent problems. Wire nuts are not suitable for automotive use due to vibration and environmental exposure. Question 69. When replacing an alternator, what should be verified before installation? A. The color of the alternator matches the old unit exactly. B. Correct pulley size, connector type, and output rating. C. The alternator rotates freely by hand rotation test. D. Only the mounting bolt pattern needs to match up. The correct answer is B. Before installing a replacement alternator, verify that the pulley diameter matches, affects belt tension and routing, the electrical connector is correct for the vehicle's wiring, and the output rating meets or exceeds the original specification. Also verify the mounting configuration and rotation direction. Installing an alternator with incorrect specifications can cause undercharging, overcharging, belt problems, or charging system malfunction. Always compare the replacement to the original unit. Question 70. When replacing LED headlights or taillights, what consideration is important? A. LED bulbs can be installed in any standard incandescent socket directly. B. Ensure proper fit, adequate cooling, and module communications compatibility. C. All LED bulbs are interchangeable between all different vehicle makes. D. LED lights never require any special consideration during installation. The correct answer is B. When replacing LED lighting, the replacement must be specifically designed for the application. LED assemblies have integrated heat sinks and electronics that must fit properly. Some vehicles with LED lighting use module communication to detect bulb failures. Incorrect replacements may cause warning messages. Aftermarket LED bulbs in halogen housings may not meet lighting standards, can cause glare, and may not be legal. Always use manufacturer-approved replacements. Question 71. When performing a static ADAS camera calibration, what environmental condition must be met? A. Controlled indoor lighting, level floor, adequate clearance. B. The vehicle must be outdoors in direct sunlight only. C. The vehicle engine must be running during calibration. D. The tires must be deflated before calibration starts. The correct answer is A. Static ADAS calibrations require a controlled environment with proper lighting, not too bright or dim, a level floor surface. Some require specific colors over patterns, precise vehicle positioning using alignment equipment, and required clearance around calibration targets. The targets must be positioned exactly as specified by the manufacturer. Environmental variations can cause calibration failures or incorrect results. Indoor calibration facilities are typically used for static procedures. Question 72. When diagnosing a blend door actuator, what symptom indicates the actuator motor has failed? A. No temperature change when control adjusted and no actuator movement heard. B. Air comes from the wrong vents during operation cycle at all speed settings. C. The blower motor does not run at any speed setting when controls adjusted. D. The A/C compressor does not engage when the air conditioning is turned on. The correct answer is A. A failed blend door actuator typically results in no change in air temperature when the control is adjusted. Unlike a stuck blend door, where the actuator may click or buzz, a failed motor produces no sound or movement when commanded. The technician can verify by listening or feeling for movement at the actuator location while adjusting temperature settings. Skin tool data may show the commanded position not matching the actual position, or the motor may not respond to skin tool actuation tests. Question 73. When using manifold gauges to diagnose an A/C system, what do high readings on both the high and low sides with the compressor running indicate? A. The system is low on refrigerant charge. B. Overcharged system or restricted condenser airflow. C. The compressor is not running at all during test. D. The orifice tube is plugged or completely blocked. The correct answer is B. High pressure readings on both the high and low side with the compressor running typically indicate an overcharge of refrigerant or insufficient heat removal at the condenser. Check for a faulty condenser fan, debris blocking the condenser, or an overcharged system. The high side cannot dissipate heat properly, which backs up pressure into the low side. Other causes include a restricted condenser or non-condensable gases, air, in the system from improper charging procedures. Question 74. What refrigerant is currently used in most new automotive A/C systems as of 2023? A. R12, CFC 12, older standard. B. R134A, HFC 134A, legacy type. C. R1234YF, HFO 1234YF, current. D. Propane, R290, alternative. The correct answer is C. R1234YF, HFO 1234YF, is now the primary refrigerant in new vehicles as of 2023. It has a much lower global warming potential, GWP, than R134A, which it is replacing due to environmental regulations. R1234YF requires specific equipment, lubricants, and handling procedures. It is mildly flammable, A2 liters classification, requiring additional safety precautions. R12 was phased out in the 1990s. R134A is still used in older vehicles and some commercial applications. Question 75. When diagnosing a no-heat condition, if the upper radiator hose is hot but the heater hoses are cool, what is the likely cause? A. Low coolant or restricted heater core. B. Faulty thermostat stuck in open position state. C. Failed water pump with no circulation at all. D. Blocked radiator restricting coolant flow path. The correct answer is A. If the upper radiator hose is hot, indicating the engine is reaching operating temperature, but the heater hoses are cool, coolant is not flowing through the heater core. Common causes include low coolant level, air pocket in heater core, a restricted heater core, internal blockage, a stuck closed heater control valve, or a bypassed over disconnected heater hose. A thermostat stuck open would cause slow warm-up affecting both the radiator and heater hoses. Water pump failure would affect overall cooling. Question 76. After replacing a blower motor, what should be checked before completing the repair? A. Verify operation at all speeds, check for noises and airflow. B. Only verify the motor runs at high speed setting only. C. Check the A/C compressor engagement operation test. D. Only check the low speed operation setting function. The correct answer is A. After blower motor replacement, verify operation at all speed settings from low to high. Listen for unusual noises that might indicate improper installation or a defective replacement. Confirm proper airflow at all vent positions, floor, dash, defrost, by checking blend door and mode door operation. Also verify that the fan shuts off properly when the system is turned off. These checks ensure complete system function and prevent comebacks. Question 77. Before evacuating and recharging an A/C system, what certification is required in Canada? A. No certification is required for this type of work. B. A welding certification for torch work on lines. C. Only a driver's license is needed for this job. D. Valid ODP certification for refrigerant handling. The correct answer is D. In Canada, technicians handling refrigerants must be certified under federal and provincial environmental regulations. This certification, often called ODP or Refrigerant Handling Certification, ensures technicians understand proper recovery, recycling, and handling procedures to prevent refrigerant release into the atmosphere. Certification requirements apply to both R134A and R1234YF. Proper documentation of refrigerant recovery and recycling is also required. Question 78. An A/C system blows cold at idle but warm at highway speeds. Pressures are normal at idle. What is the most likely cause? A. The system is overcharged with refrigerant gas. B. Compressor clutch slipping under load. C. The evaporator is frozen blocking airflow path. D. The expansion valve is too large for this system. The correct answer is B. An A/C system that cools well at idle but loses cooling at higher engine speeds while pressures appear normal typically indicates a slipping compressor clutch. At idle, the clutch can maintain grip, but as engine RPM increases, the clutch slips and cannot compress refrigerant effectively. The clutch air gap should be measured, excessive gap allows slippage. The clutch coil strength and supply voltage should also be tested. The clutch may need shim adjustment or replacement. Question 79. After recovering refrigerant from an A/C system for repair, the recovered amount is significantly less than the specified charge. What does this indicate? A. The recovery machine is faulty or needs recalibration. B. The specification label is incorrect on this vehicle. C. This is normal due to evaporation over time period. D. The system has a refrigerant leak that must be repaired first. The correct answer is D. Recovering significantly less refrigerant than the specified charge indicates the system has lost refrigerant through a leak. Before recharging, the leak must be located and repaired. Common methods include electronic leak detection, UV dye, or nitrogen pressure testing with bubble solution. Recharging a leaking system wastes refrigerant, which is both expensive and environmentally damaging, and will result in a repeat failure. The leak source and repair should be documented. Question 80. A vehicle has intermittent no heat that comes and goes. The temperature gauge fluctuates rapidly. What is the most likely cause? A. Faulty heater core leaking or blocked internally causing restriction. B. Blower motor failing causing intermittent airflow output to cabin. C. Blend door stuck in wrong position preventing proper heat distribution. D. Air pocket in cooling system causing intermittent coolant flow. The correct answer is D. Intermittent heat loss combined with a fluctuating temperature gauge strongly suggests an air pocket in the cooling system. As the air bubble circulates, it can temporarily block coolant flow through the heater core, causing heat loss, and affect the temperature sensor reading, causing gauge fluctuation. This often occurs after cooling system service if proper bleeding procedures were not followed. The system needs to be properly bled to remove the air pocket. Check for the source of air entry, leaks, head gasket. Question 81. A vehicle's battery goes dead overnight but the parasitic draw test shows only 30 mA. The battery tests good. What should be investigated? A. The alternator diodes for leakage current issue. B. The ignition switch for internal short circuit. C. The starter motor for excessive current draw. D. Module not sleeping, intermittent draw. The correct answer is D. When parasitic draw tests within specification but the battery still drains, investigate intermittent draws that may not have been active during testing. Some modules may stay awake under certain conditions, door not fully closed, aftermarket equipment, faulty module. Also check for accessories that draw power intermittently. An ammeter with min over max recording left connected overnight can capture intermittent draws. Additionally, verify the battery is not being drained by an external source, trunk light, glove box light. Question 82. A vehicle cranks slowly when hot but normally when cold. Battery and starter test good when cold. What is the most likely cause? A. The battery is undersized for this application use. B. Heat increased resistance starter over cables. C. The ignition switch is faulty when hot only issue. D. The neutral safety switch needs adjustment work. The correct answer is B. Slow cranking when hot but normal when cold, heat soak, typically indicates a starter motor problem or excessive resistance in the starter circuit that worsens with heat. High underhood temperatures can cause starter motor internal components to expand, increasing friction or electrical resistance. Cable and connection resistance also increases with heat. Voltage drop testing should be performed while hot to locate the high resistance point. Heat shields on starters may help, but starter replacement is often needed. Question 83. After a front-end collision repair, a vehicle's lane departure warning and adaptive cruise control do not function properly. The camera and radar appear undamaged. What is the most likely issue? A. ADAS sensors need recalibration after body work. B. Features disabled by collision cannot be restored again. C. The battery needs replacement after collision impact. D. The wheel alignment already fixed the sensor issue. The correct answer is A. After collision repair, even if ADAS sensors appear undamaged, they likely require recalibration. The precise alignment of cameras and radar sensors relative to the vehicle's centerline and road surface is critical for proper function. Any structural repair, suspension work, or even wheel alignment changes can affect sensor aim. Most manufacturers require ADAS recalibration after collision repair. Static or dynamic calibration procedures must be performed using proper equipment and targets. Question 84. What is the purpose of caster angle in wheel alignment? A. To provide directional stability and steering returnability. B. To adjust vehicle ride height and ground clearance. C. To reduce tire wear on the inside edge of the tread. D. To increase cornering grip and lateral traction force. The correct answer is A. Caster angle is the forward or rearward tilt of the steering axis when viewed from the side of the vehicle. Positive caster, axis tilted rearward at the top, provides directional stability by creating a self-centering effect on the steering. This helps the steering wheel return to center after a turn and keeps the vehicle tracking straight. Caster does not directly cause tire wear but can affect steering feel and effort. Question 85. What is the function of the ABS modulator in an anti-lock braking system? A. To increase brake pedal travel during stops. B. To apply the parking brake automatically when parked. C. To modulate brake line pressure and prevent wheel lockup. D. To increase engine braking during deceleration. The correct answer is C. The ABS modulator, also called hydraulic control unit, contains solenoid valves and in some designs an electric pump. When a wheel speed sensor detects impending wheel lockup during braking, the ABS module commands the modulator to reduce, hold, or increase hydraulic pressure to that wheel's brake circuit. This rapid cycling, typically 15+ times per second, prevents wheel lockup, allowing the driver to maintain steering control during emergency braking. Question 86. When checking for worn ball joints, what is the proper inspection procedure? A. Raise vehicle, support, check unloaded. B. Shake the wheel while it is on the ground level. C. Just visually inspect the boot condition only. D. Listen for noise while driving over bumps road. The correct answer is A. To properly inspect ball joints, the vehicle must be raised and the suspension unloaded appropriately. For load-carrying ball joints, support the control arm to unload the joint. For follower ball joints, let the suspension hang. Use a pry bar or have an assistant move the wheel assembly while observing the ball joint for excessive play. Also check for torn boots, which allow contamination, and compare movement to manufacturer specifications. Visual inspection alone is insufficient. Question 87. When performing a wheel alignment, in what order should the angles be adjusted? A. Toe first, then camber, then caster last. B. Camber first, then toe, then caster angle. C. Caster first, then camber, then toe last. D. Any order is acceptable for adjustment. The correct answer is C. Wheel alignment angles should be adjusted in the proper sequence: caster first, then camber, and toe last. Caster adjustments often affect camber readings, and both caster and camber adjustments can affect toe. Adjusting toe last ensures the final setting is accurate after all other adjustments are complete. Some vehicles have limited or no adjustment for certain angles, but when adjustable, this sequence should be followed. Question 88. When measuring brake rotor thickness, how many measurements should be taken and where? A. One measurement at any convenient location on the rotor surface. B. Only where the brake pad contacts the rotor friction surface. C. Only at the thinnest visible spot found on the friction area. D. At least 4 to 6 measurements equally spaced around the rotor. The correct answer is D. Brake rotor thickness should be measured at a minimum of 4 to 6 equally spaced locations around the rotor's friction surface. This identifies thickness variation, parallelism, which can cause brake pulsation. The thinnest reading is compared to the minimum thickness specification stamped on the rotor or listed in service information. A micrometer should be used for accurate measurement. Rotors with excessive wear, thickness variation, or hard spots should be replaced. Question 89. When bleeding a conventional hydraulic brake system, what is the correct bleeding sequence? A. Start with wheel closest to the master cylinder first. B. Start bleeding farthest wheel from master cylinder. C. Any order is acceptable for bleeding brake system. D. Only the front brakes need to be bled properly. The correct answer is B. The conventional brake bleeding sequence is to start with the wheel farthest from the master cylinder and work toward the closest. This is typically right rear, right front, left front. For left-hand drive vehicles with a diagonal split system, the sequence may vary. Starting farthest ensures air is progressively pushed toward the master cylinder. Always follow the manufacturer's recommended sequence, as some ABS systems require specific procedures. Question 90. When diagnosing a wheel bearing noise, how can you determine which bearing is faulty? A. The noise is always from the front bearings. B. The noise is always loudest at highway speed. C. Replace all bearings to be safe and thorough. D. Note if the noise changes direction when turning. The correct answer is D. To identify a faulty wheel bearing, drive the vehicle at the speed where the noise is most prominent. Gently swerve the vehicle left and right. When turning left, weight shifts to the right side, loading the right bearings more and unloading the left. If the noise decreases when turning in one direction, the faulty bearing is on the unloaded side. For example, if noise decreases when turning right, the left bearing is likely faulty. Confirm by checking for play and roughness during inspection. Question 91. What does cupped or scalloped tire wear indicate? A. Overinflation causing center wear pattern only. B. Underinflation causing edge wear pattern issues. C. Worn shocks or tires that are out of balance. D. Toe-out condition causing feathered wear pattern. The correct answer is C. Cupped or scalloped tire wear, alternating high and low spots around the tire circumference, typically indicates worn shock absorbers or struts that allow the tire to bounce rather than maintain constant road contact. Unbalanced tires can also cause this pattern. The bouncing creates uneven wear. This wear pattern is often accompanied by a rumbling noise that increases with speed. The suspension should be inspected and repairs made before installing new tires. Question 92. After replacing a steering angle sensor, what procedure is required? A. No procedure is required after installation. B. Calibration to establish the new center position. C. Replace the clock spring at the same time as sensor. D. Adjust the steering gear mesh preload setting. The correct answer is B. After replacing a steering angle sensor, a calibration or relearn procedure is required to establish the new sensor's center position, straight ahead. This is critical for proper operation of electronic stability control, ESC, traction control, and other ADAS features that use steering angle input. The calibration typically involves driving in a straight line or using a scan tool to perform a static calibration. Without calibration, stability control systems may malfunction. Question 93. When replacing a rack and pinion power steering gear, what must be done before removal? A. Center steering wheel, lock in place, mark shaft position. B. Drain the transmission fluid completely first. C. Remove the engine first for access to the rack. D. Disconnect only the battery for safety first. The correct answer is A. Before removing a rack and pinion steering gear, center the steering wheel and lock it in place to prevent rotation. Mark the relationship between the steering shaft and gear input shaft to ensure proper reinstallation. This maintains the steering wheel position and prevents damage to the clock spring in the steering column. On vehicles with ADAS features, improper installation can affect steering angle sensor calibration and system operation. Question 94. When installing a new strut, what torque procedure should be used for the strut mount nut? A. Tighten until the rubber mount compresses fully. B. Hand tight only for initial installation process. C. Torque wrench calibrated to manufacturer specifications. D. Impact wrench to the maximum torque setting. The correct answer is C. Strut mount nuts must be tightened to manufacturer specifications using a torque wrench. Under-torquing can allow the strut to shift or make noise, over-torquing can damage the bearing, compress the mount rubber excessively, or strip threads. Many strut cartridge installations require holding the strut shaft with an internal hex while torquing the top nut. Never use an impact wrench on strut shaft nuts as this can damage internal components. Question 95. When replacing brake pads, what should be done to the caliper pistons? A. Force them back with a C-clamp as fast as possible. B. Replace the calipers along with the brake pads. C. Retract pistons slowly, open bleeder screw if needed. D. Leave the pistons extended during the pad change. The correct answer is C. When replacing brake pads, caliper pistons should be retracted slowly using proper tools. On some vehicles, especially those with ABS, manufacturers recommend opening the bleeder screw while retracting the piston to prevent contaminated fluid from being forced back into the master cylinder and ABS modulator. Rear calipers with integrated parking brakes often require rotation while retracting. Never use quick, forceful methods that could damage seals or internal components. Question 96. After replacing brake components, what procedure must be performed before moving the vehicle? A. Start the engine and drive immediately away now. B. Test the horn for proper operation before driving. C. Check the tire pressure only before driving away. D. Pump the brake pedal until firm, then verify operation. The correct answer is D. After any brake service, pump the brake pedal several times until it feels firm before attempting to move the vehicle. This seats the brake pads against the rotors and takes up any slack in the system. Attempting to move the vehicle without doing this will result in little or no braking on the first pedal application. After achieving a firm pedal, perform a low-speed brake test in a safe area before returning the vehicle to normal service. Question 97. When installing a tire on a rim, what is the purpose of tire mounting lubricant? A. To make the tire last longer on the vehicle. B. To allow smooth bead slide and ensure proper seating. C. To reduce the tire pressure requirements needed. D. To prevent flat tires from bead damage. The correct answer is B. Tire mounting lubricant, often a soap-based solution, allows the tire bead to slide smoothly over the rim flanges during mounting and helps the bead seat properly during inflation. Without lubricant, the bead can grab, fold, or tear. The lubricant also helps achieve a proper bead seat, which is essential for holding air pressure. Only approved tire mounting lubricants should be used. Petroleum-based products can damage rubber. Question 98. What is the correct procedure for torquing wheel lug nuts? A. Tighten in circular pattern going around the wheel. B. Hand tight is sufficient for lug nut installation. C. Use an impact wrench on maximum setting available. D. Use a star pattern in stages to reach final torque. The correct answer is D. Wheel lug nuts should be tightened in a star or crisscross pattern, not circular, to ensure even seating of the wheel. Tighten in stages, typically to 50% of final torque, then 75%, then 100%. Use a calibrated torque wrench to achieve the manufacturer's specified torque. Over-torquing can warp brake rotors and strip threads, under-torquing can cause wheels to loosen. Retorque after driving is recommended by some manufacturers. Question 99. After a wheel alignment, a vehicle still pulls to the right. All alignment angles are within specification. What should be checked? A. Perform the alignment again from the start over. B. Check tire pressure, brake drag, crown. C. Replace the steering gear assembly completely now. D. Replace all 4 tires with a new matched set. The correct answer is B. If alignment angles are correct but the vehicle still pulls, check other causes: unequal tire pressures, lower pressure pulls toward that side, tire defects, ply separation, radial pull, brake drag on one side, or road crown. Roads are crowned for drainage. Some alignment systems have road crown compensation settings. Swap front tires side to side. If the pull direction changes, a tire is the cause. Brake drag can be checked by feeling for heat at the wheels after driving. Question 100. A vehicle wanders on the highway and requires constant steering corrections. Alignment is correct. What is the most likely cause? A. Worn steering or suspension, play. B. The radio is causing interference issues. C. The engine needs a tune-up for more power. D. Low engine oil causing power loss issues. The correct answer is A. A vehicle that wanders despite correct alignment typically has worn steering or suspension components creating excessive play. Check for worn tie rod ends, ball joints, control arm bushings, steering gear play, or loose wheel bearings. Any play in these components allows the wheels to move from their aligned position while driving. Each component should be inspected for wear and replaced as needed. A thorough inspection under load, bouncing the suspension, can help identify worn components. If you're finding these questions helpful, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. It helps other apprentices find this resource too. Now let's continue. Question 101. A customer complains of brake pulsation that was not present before new brake pads were installed elsewhere. Rotors were not replaced. What is the most likely cause? A. The new pads are defective from manufacturing. B. The master cylinder is failing internally now. C. The ABS system is malfunctioning on braking. D. Rotor thickness variation or contamination. The correct answer is D. Brake pulsation after pad replacement, without rotor service, is commonly caused by rotor thickness variation, also called parallelism or runout. This can occur if the rotors were at minimum thickness, if they have hot spots from previous use, or if they were damaged during pad installation. Contamination from grease, oil, or spray lubricants on the rotors during installation can also cause uneven pad transfer and pulsation. The rotors should be measured for thickness variation and replaced if out of specification. Question 102. The ABS warning light is on and a skin tool shows C0035, left front wheel speed sensor circuit malfunction. All wheel speed sensor resistances and air gaps are within specification. What should be checked next? A. Inspect wiring, connectors, tone ring. B. Replace wheel speed sensor immediately now. C. Replace the ABS module as faulty unit. D. Replace all 4 wheel speed sensors now. The correct answer is A. When a wheel speed sensor circuit code is set but the sensor itself tests good, the problem is likely in the wiring, connectors, or tone ring, reluctor. Inspect the wiring harness for damage from road debris, heat, or routing issues. Check the connector for corrosion, bent pins, or poor contact. Examine the tone ring for damage, rust buildup, or debris that could affect the signal. These are more common failure points than the sensor itself and should be checked before replacing components. Question 103. A tire with TPMS shows proper pressure on the dash display but the tire is visibly low. What could cause this discrepancy? A. The driver is imagining the low tire pressure. B. TPMS sensor reading incorrectly, needs relearn or reset. C. This is normal operation for the system. D. The tire gauge used to verify has wrong reading. The correct answer is B. A discrepancy between displayed TPMS pressure and actual tire pressure indicates a sensor malfunction, a sensor that was not properly relearned after tire service, or sensor ID confusion. TPMS sensors can fail, especially older units with depleting batteries. The system may need to be relearned if sensors were moved or replaced. Temperature affects tire pressure, but a significant visible difference indicates a sensor issue. Verify with a known accurate gauge and perform TPMS diagnostics. Question 104. A vehicle's electronic parking brake will not release. The brake warning light is on. What is the first diagnostic step? A. Connect a skin tool and retrieve stored fault codes. B. Replace the parking brake motor immediately now. C. Tow the vehicle immediately to a repair shop. D. Disconnect the battery to reset the system. The correct answer is A. Electronic parking brake, EPB, systems require proper diagnostic procedures. The first step is to connect a scan tool to retrieve any stored fault codes and access system data. Many EPB systems have a manual or emergency release procedure accessible through the scan tool or a mechanical override. Common causes include low battery voltage, brake pad wear sensors, or motor over actuator issues. Never attempt to force release or disconnect components without proper diagnosis, as this could damage the system or create a safety hazard. Question 105. After replacing a front wheel bearing over hub assembly with an integrated wheel speed sensor, the ABS and traction control lights remain on. What is the most likely cause? A. The battery is low on voltage output currently. B. The engine needs service for more power output. C. The brake pads need replacement soon for safety. D. Incorrect sensor type or faulty connection. The correct answer is D. ABS over traction control lights after hub replacement indicate a sensor issue. The replacement hub may have the wrong sensor type, different tooth count, wrong connector, or different signal output. Verify the correct part number and check that the connector is fully seated. Some vehicles require a sensor relearn procedure after replacement. Question 107. What is the minimum wait time recommended before working on SRS, supplemental restraint system, components after disconnecting the battery? A. No wait time is required before work begins. B. 30 seconds to discharge capacitors fully. C. 1 to 3 minutes depending on manufacturer. D. 10 minutes regardless of manufacturer specs. The correct answer is C. After disconnecting the battery before SRS service, a wait time of 1 to 3 minutes is typically required, varies by manufacturer. This allows the backup power capacitor in the SRS control module to discharge. Attempting to work on airbag components before this time could result in accidental deployment, causing serious injury. Always follow the specific manufacturer's wait time requirement and verify the system is fully de-energized before proceeding with service. Question 108. When servicing components near a deployed airbag, what personal protective equipment should be worn? A. No special PPE is required for this work. B. Safety glasses, gloves, and dust mask for residue. C. Only leather gloves for hand protection needed. D. Steel-toed boots only for foot protection. The correct answer is B. When working near deployed airbags, technicians should wear safety glasses, gloves, and a dust mask or respirator. Deployed airbags can leave sodium azide residue, which is caustic and can irritate skin, eyes, and respiratory system. The vehicle should be ventilated before entering. Any residue on skin should be washed immediately with water. Deployed airbag modules should be handled carefully and disposed of according to proper procedures, not placed in regular trash. Question 109. When diagnosing a wind noise complaint, what is the correct diagnostic approach? A. Replace all weather stripping immediately now. B. Tell the customer this noise is normal behavior. C. Simply adjust the door alignment only for fix. D. Road test to locate the noise, then seal areas with tape. The correct answer is D. Wind noise diagnosis requires systematically identifying the source. First, road test the vehicle at the speed where the noise occurs to verify and characterize it. Then use tape, masking or painter's tape, to temporarily seal suspected leak points such as door weather stripping, window seals, mirror gaps, or body seams. Retest after each seal to determine which area eliminates the noise. This systematic approach prevents unnecessary repairs to components that are not the source. Question 110. When removing interior door panels, what precaution should be taken regarding electrical connectors? A. Pull firmly on the wires to quickly disconnect them from the panel. B. Cut the wires for easier access to the panel during removal process. C. Release locking tabs properly and note wire routing for reassembly. D. Leave all connectors connected and work around them during service. The correct answer is C. When removing interior door panels, identify and release the locking tabs on electrical connectors before attempting to separate them. Pulling on wires can damage terminals and connections, causing intermittent operation. Note the routing of wire harnesses to ensure proper reinstallation. Some connectors have secondary locks that must be released first. Take photos if necessary to document wire routing and connector positions for proper reassembly. Question 111. When diagnosing a power door lock that does not respond to the remote but works with the interior switch, what is indicated? A. Problem in remote over receiver, not actuator. B. The lock actuator is faulty, internally failed. C. The door handle is broken or stuck in place. D. The window motor is faulty and weak output. The correct answer is A. If a power door lock works from the interior switch but not from the remote, the lock actuator and wiring are functional. The problem is in the remote entry system, either the remote itself, dead battery, faulty transmitter, or the receiver over control module. Check the remote battery first, then verify if other functions on the same remote work. If all remotes fail, the receiver module or its wiring may be faulty. Some systems require remote reprogramming after battery replacement. Question 112. When storing an undeployed airbag module, how should it be positioned? A. Face down on the workbench surface only. B. Face up, in a secure location, away from heat sources. C. In any position is acceptable for storage. D. In a regular parts bin with other components. The correct answer is B. Undeployed airbag modules should be stored with the deployment side, face, up in a secure, designated location away from heat, sparks, and sources of electrical charge. If stored face down and accidentally deployed, the module would be propelled with significant force. Airbag modules should never be exposed to temperatures above 100 degrees Celsius, 212 degrees Fahrenheit. They should also be kept away from sources of static electricity and should not be tested with a multimeter, as electrical current could cause deployment. Question 113. When replacing door weather stripping to fix a water leak, what preparation should be done? A. Apply the new weather stripping over the old one. B. Clean, remove adhesive, apply to specs. C. Just press the new weather stripping into place. D. Use silicone sealant as a substitute for seal. The correct answer is B. Proper weather stripping installation requires thoroughly cleaning the mounting surface and removing all old adhesive residue. The surface must be dry and free of oils. Apply weather strip adhesive according to manufacturer recommendations. Some weather stripping is self-adhesive, while others require separate adhesive application. Allow proper cure time before closing the door. Improper preparation is a common cause of weather stripping failure and water leak recurrence. Question 114. A customer complains of a rattle from the dashboard area only on cold mornings that goes away after the vehicle warms up. What is the most likely cause? A. Loose component, contracts cold, snug warm. B. The stereo speakers are failing and buzzing now. C. The A over C compressor is faulty and rattling badly. D. The exhaust system is loose and rattling under. The correct answer is A. A rattle that appears when cold and disappears when warm is typically caused by thermal expansion properties. Interior plastic components and fasteners contract in cold temperatures, creating clearance that allows movement and noise. As the vehicle warms from engine heat and interior heating, the components expand and fit more tightly, eliminating the rattle. Common sources include clips, brackets, wiring harness guides, or loose interior trim pieces that need to be identified and secured. Question 115. A power window moves slowly and stops before fully closing in hot weather but works normally in cool weather. What is the likely cause? A. The window switch is failing intermittently now. B. Motor hot resistance, regulator binding. C. The fuse is partially blown from excess heat. D. The battery is too small for the load draw. The correct answer is B. Electric motors and mechanical components can be affected by temperature. A window that struggles in hot weather may have a motor developing heat-related electrical resistance, or the regulator mechanism may be binding due to thermal expansion in the track or lack of lubrication that becomes apparent when components expand. Check for dry or contaminated window run channels. The motor may be drawing excessive current, testable with an ammeter. If the motor is the cause, it may need replacement. Question 116. The SRS light is on and scan tool shows passenger seat occupant classification system malfunction. The vehicle was recently detailed. What should be checked first? A. Replace the passenger airbag immediately. B. Replace the SRS control module assembly. C. Check under seat for obstructions, loose connectors, water. D. Disconnect the battery for 10 minutes to reset. The correct answer is C. The Occupant Classification System, OCS, uses sensors in the passenger seat to determine occupant presence and wait for airbag deployment decisions. After vehicle detailing, the most common causes are objects placed under the seat interfering with sensors, disconnected or loose seat connectors from moving the seat, or water intrusion into the sensor from cleaning. Inspect under the seat, verify all connectors are properly seated, and check for moisture. The sensor harness may have been damaged during cleaning. Question 117. What is the purpose of the DC-DC converter in a hybrid or electric vehicle? A. To charge high-voltage battery from reg-in braking only. B. Convert high-voltage DC power to 12 to 14-volt output. C. To convert AC from wall charger to DC for battery use. D. To boost voltage for electric motor acceleration power. The correct answer is B. The DC-DC converter in hybrid and electric vehicles converts the high-voltage DC from the main traction battery, typically 200-800V DC, to 12 to 14 volts DC. This powers all conventional 12-volt vehicle systems, lights, entertainment, control modules, and keeps the 12V auxiliary battery charged. Without the DC-DC converter, the 12V systems would drain the auxiliary battery. This component eliminates the need for a traditional belt-driven alternator in most HEV over EV designs. Question 118. Before performing any service on a hybrid vehicle's high-voltage system, what PPE is required? A. Standard mechanic gloves only for grip needed. B. No special PPE if the system is de-energized properly. C. Latex gloves and safety glasses for work protection. D. Class 0 plus HV gloves, leather, shield, tools. The correct answer is D. High-voltage service on hybrid over electric vehicles requires Class 0, rated to 1,000 VAC over 1,500 VDC, or higher rated insulating gloves, leather protector gloves worn over them, a face shield or safety glasses, and insulated, non-conductive, tools. The insulating gloves must be inspected for damage before each use and tested over certified periodically. Even after de-energization, capacitors can retain charge, so PPE should be worn throughout the service procedure. Question 119. When diagnosing an electric vehicle that will not move, what should be verified first? A. Check the tire pressure on all four wheels. B. Verify 12V battery, powers HV controls. C. Replace the main battery immediately now. D. Check the windshield washer fluid level first. The correct answer is B. The 12V auxiliary battery is critical in electric vehicles because it powers the control modules that manage the high-voltage system, including the contactors that connect the high-voltage battery to the vehicle systems. A dead or weak 12V battery will prevent the vehicle from ready mode even if the main traction battery is fully charged. Always check 12V battery condition first, as this is a common cause of no start or will not move conditions in EVs. Question 120. What does an isolation fault detected by the high-voltage battery system indicate? A. Unintended path between HV and chassis. B. The battery is overcharged beyond its capacity. C. The charging port is damaged or faulty now. D. The 12V battery is low and needs a charge. The correct answer is A. An isolation fault indicates that the high-voltage system, which is designed to be isolated from the vehicle chassis, floating ground, has developed an unintended connection to chassis ground. This is a serious safety concern as it could result in shock hazard. Causes include damaged insulation on high-voltage cables, moisture intrusion, or component failure. The vehicle will typically disable high-voltage operation when an isolation fault is detected. Special insulation testing equipment is required for diagnosis. Question 121. What type of compressor is used in most hybrid and electric vehicle A over C systems? A. Belt-driven reciprocating compressor unit type. B. Electric scroll or rotary, HV powered. C. Engine-mounted swash plate compressor type. D. Turbo-driven compressor using exhaust gases. The correct answer is B. Most hybrid and electric vehicles use high-voltage electric A over C compressors, typically scroll or rotary type, instead of belt-driven units. This allows the A over C to operate when the engine is off, in hybrids, or in vehicles without engines, EVs. These compressors run on high voltage, often 200-400 VDC, and contain oil compatible with the refrigerant and electrical components. Special handling and repair procedures are required, and the refrigerant oil specification is critical. Question 122. After service is complete on a hybrid vehicle that required high-voltage system de-energization, what verification must be performed before releasing the vehicle? A. Only verify the engine starts normally running. B. Verify ready mode, DTCs, safety, test. C. Just check the tire pressure on all four wheels. D. No verification is required after service work. The correct answer is B. After high-voltage service, comprehensive verification is essential. Confirm the vehicle enters ready mode properly, which indicates the high-voltage system is energized and functional. Use a scan tool to check for any new diagnostic trouble codes in all systems. Verify all safety systems are functional, ABS, stability control, airbags. Perform a test drive to verify proper hybrid system operation, regenerative braking, and normal performance. Document the service and verification. Question 123. When a high-voltage orange cable shows visible damage to its outer insulation, what action should be taken? A. Wrap it with electrical tape and continue. B. The damaged cable must be fully replaced, not repaired. C. Apply liquid electrical tape to the damaged area. D. Cover it with zip tie and heat shrink tubing. The correct answer is B. High-voltage cables, identified by orange color, with damaged insulation must be replaced, not repaired. The insulation on these cables is specifically designed to withstand high voltage and prevent electrical shock and arcing. Repairs using tape or other materials do not provide adequate insulation protection and create a serious safety hazard. Any damage that exposes or compromises the cable's insulation requires complete cable replacement according to manufacturer procedures. Question 124. A hybrid vehicle's high-voltage battery shows reduced range and scan data indicates several cell modules with lower voltage than others. What does this indicate? A. The battery is overcharged beyond its capacity. B. The drive motor is failing under heavy load. C. The charging port is faulty or damaged. D. Cell imbalance requiring battery module balancing. The correct answer is D. When individual cell modules in a high-voltage battery pack show significantly lower voltage than others, it indicates cell imbalance or degradation. The Battery Management System, BMS, tries to balance cells, but significant variation indicates some cells are failing or have higher internal resistance. This reduces overall battery capacity and range. Depending on the vehicle and manufacturer, individual modules may be replaceable, or battery pack balancing procedures may help. Severe cases require pack replacement. Question 125. An electric vehicle's A over C system is not cooling, but the compressor appears to be operating based on scan data. The system uses R1234YF. What unique consideration applies to EV A over C diagnosis? A. EV A over C uses same diagnostic approach as conventional. B. Simply add refrigerant until cold enough output. C. Electric compressor requires POE oil, verify HV power supply. D. Replace the thermal expansion valve first. The correct answer is C. Electric vehicle A over C systems have unique diagnostic considerations. The electric compressor uses specific POE, polyol ester, oil compatible with both the refrigerant and electrical components. Wrong oil can cause electrical shorts or compressor failure. High voltage power supply to the compressor must be verified. Isolation faults can disable the compressor. The inverter that controls compressor speed can fail. Traditional pressure-based diagnosis applies, but electrical and electronic issues unique to electric compressors must also be considered. That's all the questions for today. If this helped you prepare, subscribe now and hit the bell. We post exam prep for all Red Seal trades. Visit questionbankhub.com for the complete study guide with additional practice questions. Good luck on your automotive service technician Red Seal exam. You've got this.